The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. Come own the night with us. Stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
It's Wednesday, December 20th, Thursday, December 21st, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond, and this is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, live in the Great White North, in the Caribou region, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia and SOR headquarters. We say hello to everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, at over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us. We're also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, The Fringe.fm, Renegade Talk Radio out of Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Hey, we're all over social media. You could find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. We're on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. We're on iHeartRadio in the United States. TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows from iTunes. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. We also have a GoFundMe page going on right now. We are trying to raise some funds to improve our broadcast system so we can become more terrestrial. Head to GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. Once again, GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. We would appreciate it. Hey, if you head to our website, you can join and look up the Spaced Out Radio store. Pick up a t-shirt, stickers, posters. Read up on the encounter online dealing with everything paranormal, strange, and odd. My latest blog on there as well. It's about being politically incorrect. We also got great videos from Tim Doyle's UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV. Now, we're getting into the paranormal tonight with our final edition of 2017 of Ghosts of the Great White North with Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. Mike's team is one of the premier research groups in Western Canada. And tonight we're going to talk about some of Mike's favorite ghost stories from the year. And we have a special guest joining us tonight from Las Vegas, as we're going to be joined by award-winning author and frequent contributor to this show, Mr. David Weatherly, who is always up for a paranormal conversation. Gentlemen, Merry Christmas to both of you. I don't do the happy holidays or the season's greetings crap. Merry Christmas. Hope you're having and ready for a great holiday, David and Mike.
Hey, Merry Christmas, guys.
Happy holidays, Dave.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Nice and shallow there. Nice and shallow. You know, I actually wrote a blog on spacedoutradio.com about how I'm sick and tired of happy holidays and season's greetings, and it's hard to do something like that. And I remember writing it. It's hard to do something like that, guys, when, everything is becoming so politically correct and everybody gets offended on everything, so take a read. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you don't get offended by it and say, I'm not listening to that show anymore. Before we get started, though, guys, I do have something extremely, extremely important to say. I need thoughts and prayers and absolutely everything for one of our very, very good friends of this show, Bob Davis, who does our intros. You hear his voice when he introduces me, or we come out of commercial, and for the Saturday show and Sunday shows as well. Bob is in hospital right now, and he is not doing very well. And he went into hospital a couple of days ago. He called me today, almost crying, asking and begging for the thoughts and prayers, anything you guys can send him in regards to his health. He is not doing very well right now, and he was almost in tears when he called me earlier today. So, Bob, if you're listening, I'm not sure if your beautiful wife and family are listening as well, but from all of us, get better. We need you here. Space Out Radio is the sound because of the way you introduce our shows. So everybody, if you don't mind, we all know Bob from the chat rooms. Everything is, hi, Bob. And you've heard me say it many times on the show. He is family around here, and I would absolutely love it. He does have a medical condition that is acting up. I'm not going to go too deep into that right now, but it's pretty serious, and we need some thoughts and prayers for one of our own here. And I would appreciate it if everybody could send some love Bob's way. That would mean the absolute world to me, and I know to Bob. So, Bob, if you're listening, we are with you. We're standing with you, buddy, and you got to get better for us. It is that important that you get better for us because you're a big part of what we do. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. All right. Tonight, guys, Mike and David, I figured, it's been a long year. It's been a long year for a lot of us. A lot of us have had a lot of time in the paranormal field, working on cases, working on evidence, working on what this field is all about. And Mike, I'm going to start with you on this one because you're my usual co-host for Ghosts of the Great White North. How was 2017 for you, my friend?
On a personal level or a paranormal level? Personal? Meh. Paranormal's been pretty good. Had a lot done, got a new team going, new goals. Had a really good investigation last week, which was a nice tip to the end of 2017. A lot of action on it, which we'll talk about later. Looking forward to 2018. I want to fast forward to that.
I think a lot of us are looking forward to 2018. David, how was your 2017 in investigating the strange and the weird?
Oh, it was fantastic. I've kind of taken the past month and just stayed at home base. I've been wrapping up the next book, and I traveled so much this year and got in so many investigations and some really incredible evidence this year too. So for me it was a great year, and I'm looking forward to 2018 being even better. So I'm excited for the new year too.
You know what? So am I. And I can't give out any information to the audience. I've kind of been teasing them. But a couple of days ago, I had a very, very important phone call. And it could mean a lot towards the future of this show. So what we're going to be doing here is I got to keep quiet on it because I don't want to play with karma too much. But I can tell you this, I think 2018 is going to be the year of SOR. And I am very much looking forward to making it happen, guys, because, I think all of us in this field, whether you're in my hot seat here in Space Out Radio headquarters, or whether you guys are out in the field like both of you guys are on a busy basis, I think we're making a difference. And I think people are going to take a lot of notice with this recent UFO disclosure, Dave. What do you think?
Oh, you want to open the can of worms right up front, huh? This whole disclosure thing. I mean, you and I have talked about that recently on the show, Dave, and my stance on it. This whole kind of dog and pony show that's going on with the Tom DeLonge group and everything. I'll tell you the truth. I've just kind of stayed away from a lot of it recently. I've just read the news updates and everything, but man, the UFO field is kind of a mess right now. And as I've stated before on this program, there's so many people fixated on this whole idea of disclosure that I think we're kind of missing the point in a sense. Every time there's an election in the U.S., we get all these arguments as to why this president is going to be the disclosure president, and then of course, they have to explain why the last president wasn't the disclosure president, even though they said he was going to be. And, the absurdity of it for me just kind of gets out of hand. It really does. I think we're looking in the wrong direction for disclosure. That's kind of what I'll leave it at.
And Mike, I know you deal more into the paranormal, but with Haunted Crew of Canada, you and I have talked privately. You've wanted to get more into cryptids. You've wanted to get more into UFOs. Have you had a chance to look at everything so far and just kind of digest what has been going on?
With the new UFO disclosure, no. I've kind of been looking on the outside, seeing what everyone's saying and thinking about. I'm not educated enough to give my opinion on it, and I'll be honest about that. I would like to hear more about it if you guys talk about it. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure later on in the show we'll get into it. But, Mike, I think what we now as Canadians have to start doing is I think we have to start leading the pack. Whether you're paranormal, whether you are, cryptid or even into UFOs, I think we need to start leading the pack and asking our government what is going on with the UFOs. If the U.S. is giving their information, why are we not getting any information from our government? You know what I'm saying, Mike?
I do. Maybe we could talk to our Prime Minister on that and see if he can help us out.
I don't think Prime Minister Snowflake is too interested in worrying about that. He's got terrorists to let back into the country and pay them off. But that's just me.
And hair to style. He's got good hair. He's got really good hair and a good bum.
You know what? I haven't checked out his ass. But I will give Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister Snowflake, thumbs up, because you know me, Mike. I like good hair. David, I wish you would grow your hair back. That picture with you with the long hair with the top hat. I like that. I do. We need more long.
My hair's still long, brother.
Is it? Okay.
My hair's still that long.
All right.
Yeah, I just have it. I have it back in a ponytail a lot, but
excellent.
People love that picture so much that I keep putting it back up there.
Well, I'm a fan of it. I am a big-time fan of it. I'm not going to lie.
I have a shock button on my computer for if there's ever political talk. It shocks me to bite my tongue. So, yeah.
Well, we don't get into politics too often here, but I'm not sure. Canadian Joe on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio saying, Dave, Justin is already a space cadet. He'll get right on it. That's hilarious. I don't think so. He's too busy paying off terrorists and saying sorry that you fought for ISIS. But that's just me.
Maybe he's an alien.
Nah, Justin's too much of a hippie for being an alien. But that's Canadian politics for you. That's where we go. We have hippies. Not billionaires. Hippies running our main office. Anyways, back to the paranormal here. Mike, we're going to start with you on this one. Looking back on 2017, you made a major change. You were with TCPS. You decided to go on your own, start up Haunted Crew of Canada. Tell us how that started for you.
Yeah, me and Jeff, you can see him chirping Justin Trudeau in your chat room here. We decided together to start up a new team, take a different direction, and go in the way of helping people. Stay doing the historic stuff because that's kind of the bread and butter. But the way we're doing things is just not going to go into politics. Is a lot cleaner. And we have a producer that's helping us out. We're going to throw some stuff on YouTube and see where we go from there. And we've been getting a lot of good relationships with a lot of the actually downtown Vancouver and Kitsilano, Vancouver, if you all know Vancouver, have been reaching out to us. So in 2018, we're going to be pretty freaking busy with investigations.
Well, it's something that's important, Mike, that, you have to find your base in this. And it was a year of growth around here. You know that very well. Our audience knows that very well. You have to find your base, and you have to find out what works and what doesn't. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to part ways with people whom you love and adore and respect. But if you're not on the same page, that's what you need to do, right?
Totally. It's different direction, just different methods in your head that you execute when you're in the field. And sometimes when you're in the field with people that don't jive with you, you kind of, butt heads, right? Can't have too many chefs in a kitchen at once. And with our new team, we'd like to branch out into like looking at like Bigfoot and all that sort of stuff, and have the opportunity to do that stuff.
Well, we're going to have to, probably after the holidays, go back to our Sasquatch gifting site to see how that went, because when we were there about a week and a half ago, I actually put out some Christmas ornaments, because Butch Witkowski and Edie Kaito, along with Mike Johnson, said try Christmas ornaments because they're shiny. Get the plastic ones. They're shiny, and they may catch the attention. Dave, are you a big cryptid guy?
Oh, yeah, well, you know this. I publish Wood Knots, the Journal of Sasquatch Research. The second volume of that came out this year. And I've done a lot of other cryptid research over the years. Dave Spinks and I put out a volume of the Point Pleasant Files this year, which is a DVD highlighting investigations around the Point Pleasant area, primarily around the Mothman sightings and some of the weird things we found around there. So, yeah, I do extensive stuff with cryptids.
Would you ever set up a gifting site, Dave?
Under the right conditions, yeah, I would give it a try. I think that in the Bigfoot field, you have so many people that are divided on this stuff. You got, hardcore people who are trying to view it scientifically, and then you have the other side, which, the traditional science types, labeled the woo-woo crowd or whatever, who say they're in communication with Sasquatch and everything else. And, my thing is I try to approach all this stuff with a very open mind and approach. And, I think that we need to try a wide range of things to see if we can get a response. And that's really what it comes down to. So, if it works for you, give it a try. Definitely.
I do have to.
You guys are probably in prime territory for a gifting site to see if you can get some responses.
Well, Dave, I'm going to put you on the spot. I just want to let you know, because this will be brand new news for you. I've put your name on the list to speak at the 2018 Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon.
Oh, awesome.
So
okay.
You're going to be coming up, just like you and Ross were going to come up last year when we had to cancel it due to the forest fires. I will get you the dates, and you and Ross the dates and everything, and we want to have you up here as guests for us.
Sounds good, man.
It'll be the last weekend of September, and I know little Mikey Morin is going to be there, and we'll take you to some haunted places, and we'll take you to where we found evidence of Sasquatch as well, so we can keep you pretty busy.
Awesome. We'll come out and creep you guys out with tales of haunted toys.
Love it. I know Ross was going to bring up a bunch of his haunted relics from the museum, and I think it's going to be perfect, and look forward to it. So there's some brand new news. We are going to be having, the 2018 Caribou Paracon, and it's going to look really, really good at the Spruce Hill Spawn Resort. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Mike, I guess that's news for you, too, because you got to be here as well.
Little Mikey Morin's going to make his way up to your Paracon.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'll be honest with you guys. This year, for me in the paranormal, as everybody knows, I've been very public about it. In April, we started the local haunted tours at the museum, which when you guys come to Paracon, you will be able to check out Dave for the first time. Mike has investigated the museum 3 or 4 times now, I think maybe 5, and it is something that, we'll all get together. We'll do a serious investigation about this. But I have to tell you, from our first tour in April to our final tour that we did for the season in November, I feel like I'm a veteran now. And I never considered myself a paranormal investigator. I still really don't. But I can tell you, I feel like a veteran because I'm catching myself on what I should and shouldn't ask and everything along those lines. I guess that's the way it works, Mike. When you investigate the same spot over and over and over again, you kind of get used to everything and you start really pushing the boundaries, saying, even though you're touring new people around, you're still worried about getting the proper responses, and you have to always be changing and thinking of that change. Isn't that right?
Yeah, totally. 108's totally your wheelhouse. You know the nooks and crannies and all the weird noises that aren't paranormal. It's just the ambient noise around, the traffic going by. So yeah, you would be achievement unlocked, Dave. You are the veteran of 108 Mile. Achievement unlocked. It's a good place.
Tell Dave how haunted it is.
On a haunted scale, I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's a gooder. Every time you go there, you get a lot of action, a lot of EVPs. We've got some of our, like my group personally, we've gotten a lot of Class A EVPs telling us to go to hell, swear words, and all that sort of stuff. But on a side note, if you do come up for Dave's Paracon, I would like to drive an hour and a half north with you and take you to the Quesnel Museum, because they have one of the most haunted dolls, basically, in Western Canada.
We talked about that when Dave was on the show last, about Mandy, the haunted doll. And Dave, remember when I got you in touch with Glenn Ferguson about his experience? Right. Mike was one of the guys there on what happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so to fill in the gap for people listening, actually, I'm wrapping up the next book now, and it is specifically on haunted dolls. So there is a chapter on Mandy included. Now, that's one of the few that I have not seen in person, so I would definitely be down for going up and checking that out when I'm up for the Paracon. But yeah, I was never able to really get Glenn's story out of him. There's still time to add it to the book if he wants to chime in on it. But I know I've got a lot of cool reports from, people who have had strange experiences around that doll.
Yeah. Well, you can even talk to Mike. If you can't get a hold of Glenn and he's kind of, being not returning your messages, you could actually talk to Mike because he was there.
Yeah, that works too, Mike. Let's touch base off air, obviously.
So
yeah, for sure. I was there for my encounter and Glenn's encounter.
So, Mike, okay, why don't you go over Mandy the Haunted Doll? Because I think it would be first-hand knowledge for Dave, who's writing the book on it, but for our audience as well. Take us through the night before when I was with you guys, and then the next night when this happened.
Jog my memory on the night before. I'm getting old.
That was when we did the walkthrough, and I had the incident with the army mannequin.
Yes. Tell the story about the army mannequin. I almost said the SH word. I don't recall it.
Well, you guys were in a different part of the museum and doing your walkthrough with Derek White Sky Clown, an extremely talented psychic medium. And you know me, I like to wander off. I didn't want to get in your way, and make noise or anything like that. So I wandered off to the back part of the museum. And as I was looking around, I love old things. I love museums. There's just something about them that are very, very special. And I walked through this door to the second part of the building, and I turned right down the hallway. And what caught my eye was a couple of things. They had a bunch of military memorabilia there from World War I and World War II, and some pieces from Korea. And they had a mannequin dressed in the military garb from the era. And a little bit beyond that, like 15 feet beyond that, they had this giant patch quilt that was sewn by someone in like the 1930s or 40s. This patch quilt was like 15 feet by 15 feet. You know, and I love patch quilts because my grandmother, God rest her soul, used to make all of us patch quilts. And aren't they the warmest? They're just the warmest. And it was a beautiful patch quilt hanging on the wall. And as I'm staring at this, out of the corner of my right eye, I see something kind of leaning and looking down at me. And as soon as I go to turn my head, this thing jumps back. And then I jump back and scream because that's where I noticed the mannequin for the first time. And it freaked me out. So, you know, I've got the heebie-jeebies. I run back and I find Corey, who was with us. Corey's part of my team here on SOR and does my ghost hunts as well. And her and I walk back there, and I put a K2 meter right in this guy's face, and I start whispering in his ear, I know you're there. I know it. Come on, show me. And he wouldn't give me anything. Nothing. Stone cold. But I told you guys about that for when you guys went to your investigation the next night, and this is where you can pick it up, both with Mandy and that mannequin.
Yeah, Mandy the doll, she, no one really knows exactly where she's from. It was given to the museum, apparently, through a family in Quesnel, BC, but they were not 100% sure where the doll was from. Derek did some research on the doll, as did Glenn at the time. It turned out Mandy the doll was really a male doll and was basically like a death doll. Like, you know, back in the old days when they would make when somebody passed away, they'd make a doll to represent them, like babies. Exact year on the doll, they were unsure, but she's filled with hay. Like, that's the stuffing. So based on that, you know, it's a really old doll. Accounts would be that the case would be open, the doll would allegedly be going through the museum at night. Dave's posting really creepy photos of the doll on the thread. My account was right before we were going to start doing our investigation, I was feeling a little hungry, hadn't eaten all day, and I decided to go grab some snacks out of my truck. And that's the last thing I remember, was going to grab some peanuts, to be exact, out of my truck. And then I had the guys come outside, or trying to remember exactly what happened. That's, 2 years ago now. But basically, I was kind of tranced out walking towards Highway 1 in the snow. And I don't recall. And then at the same time, inside, our other guy, Glenn, at the time, he was tranced out in front of the doll and didn't remember any of it. So it's a creepy doll. I like to go back up there and investigate, because we have reinvestigated. We have a lot of new tools and a lot of better sound recording gear. I'm pretty sure we could pull some good sounds out of that doll.
Explain to Dave what you and our audience what you saw with Glenn and what happened in that situation, Mike.
It was like he was on pause. Like, you know, when you pause a show and just doesn't move. Staring at the doll. And Troy, another member of the team at the time, we were basically snapping at him, trying to wake him up, trying to get him out of what happened. And he finally woke up, not a clue what happened. He ran outside and puked his guts out, and was rattled ever since. But now thinking about that, we went into the investigation half-assed and slightly pompous. Usually before every investigation, I don't pray, I smudge. We usually smudge. Glenn used to do his thing where he'd pray, and we would go and protect it. This time we basically just walked in, guns a-blazing, and that happened. Lesson learned.
So when you found Glenn, what was Glenn doing?
Outside, he was vomiting. Inside, he was doing nothing. From what I recall, he was just tranced out. He did not.
I understand that, Mike, but what I'm trying to get you to do is paint a picture. Our audience can't really see it.
Glenn was basically sitting right at the doll, within maybe a foot away, just staring at it, staring in its eyes. So picture an old doll. Look on the thread. There's the doll in the case. Imagine a guy with glasses sitting about a foot away, staring at it in like a tranced out face. I don't want to use the word possessed because that's a pretty hard word, hence tranced out. And Troy would kind of shook him to distract him, and there's nothing. It was creepy.
How long did this last for?
I believe it was over 10 minutes. It was quite a while. It was going on for... I wish we had it on film. I think it's recorded, like audio somewhere. But I wish we had it on actual film.
And the weird part about that was your cameras cut out, didn't they?
Yeah, we were having troubles filming the doll. Because what we were going to do is we were going to static cam it for the entire night after the investigation. And so the cameras we had chosen to use, we didn't touch. Batteries are full. Battery charged. We left them, and within 10 minutes of us leaving at the end of the night, they were dead. One of them didn't record. It was like the lens cap was on, but obviously the lens cap was not on. Our audio recorder ran. I'm going to just message Jeff right now to see if we pulled anything off that audio, because we let the audio recorder run for about 25 hours straight. So that did not crap out. But yeah, it's like the doll did not want to be filmed. Audio, I guess it probably didn't realize what was going on, but it did not want to be filmed. The photo, if you guys are looking at the thread, the Mandy the doll photo in the blue color, it was taken with a full spectrum lens. So we tried to highlight, or full spectrum infrared lens. And then the other one was taken, they're both taken by me, and the other one was just taken on my cell phone.
Now, David, why do a lot of these dolls not like to be photographed or filmed?
You know, some of that goes back to the reasons that these dolls are haunted or, possessed or whatever the case may be. And, what we find is that a lot of these items, they have highly concentrated energy, whatever, like I said, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of times what happens in those situations is that interferes with equipment that we use on investigations. I'm sure Mike knows this, and anybody who spends much time in the field, you'll find that when you go into highly charged locations, you experience these things, equipment failure, battery drain, all these common things. Now, that's at a haunted location that, say, is, a house or asylum or wherever you may be. But imagine that type of energy concentrated down and focused into one singular object. Now you're dealing with a different animal in a sense, because it's an energy that often has a more direct interaction. And I think there's a psychological component that comes in a lot of times with these haunted dolls, because for one thing, a lot of people have a fear of dolls. Some of them, even if you don't have a fear of dolls, are just kind of creepy looking. Mandy is a great example because the face is cracked. And I know a lot of people I spoke to who have looked at Mandy, find that kind of unsettling just in itself, because it's this old, sort of decrepit looking doll. And it just adds something else atmospheric to it. But then when you have these dolls that so much legend grows up around over time, a great example of that is Robert the doll. Hundreds and hundreds of people talking about the idea that the doll is haunted or possessed and is able to do all these different things. That's a human element that's being added into the haunting. So, science is still learning a lot about the human energy field, and we don't completely understand how that component may be interacting with what our experiences turn out to be around these haunted objects.
I agree. With this doll in particular, I was a total skeptic. I'm like, it's a creepy doll. There's nothing about it. It's a creepy doll. But me trancing outside, I'm like, well, I guess there's something to the doll, because I'm very skeptical of like the haunted doll stuff. But Mandy, I guess, proved its point.
David, what were you able to find out about Mandy, and how hard was it for you to get information on this doll, considering you've never seen it, you've never traveled this far up north to get into that area, and, it's just, it's got to be tough to research something from that far away.
To a degree, I have a pretty solid network from having done this so many years. So I reached out to a lot of people. You obviously were very helpful with connecting me with, the photographs that you had taken of Mandy and some other little tidbits. There is a fair amount online about Mandy, partially because the doll is now in a museum. And, a few of the more popular, more well-known haunted dolls, there is some information out there that you can kind of weed through and find out, okay, what's factual and what's, something someone just dreamed up to throw on a website. But again, it's another item that there hasn't been a lot of extensive research done on the doll anyway. So because of its provenance, we really don't know the origins of this doll to understand what may have caused it to be haunted. As Mike mentioned earlier, it was given to the museum by a family. To my knowledge, there's not a whole lot of record of the family, saying too much about the doll or really, talking about where it came from or anything. So a lot of these items, it just takes a matter of time and somebody really, really digging in. The only one that's been done on extensively is Robert the doll. A fellow named David Sloan out of Florida has done some pretty extensive work and uncovered a lot of facts about Robert. But some of the other dolls, are just as mysterious as Mandy.
Is it hard, David, is it hard to look into the past to find out the real history of a doll like Mandy?
It is to a degree, but it's something that I really enjoy doing. I like, I kind of following those breadcrumbs and trying to uncover different pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, to understand where along the way, something may have become attached to this doll, or, sometimes it's a case that the original owner was so attached to the item that, perhaps a piece of that person's consciousness or energy remained with the doll. It is difficult to a degree. Granted, it's gotten a little bit easier in a sense with the advent of the internet, but at the same time, you take the good with the bad, because now you have so much to weed through that it's just out and out BS that, it's just as challenging in a sense.
The story,
and I see, somebody is throwing in, asking me if I know about Peggy the doll on the chat. And yes, indeed, I do. I have seen Peggy. Peggy is now at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Vegas. And there's a whole chapter on Peggy in the book that's coming out.
Mike, go ahead.
It totally lost my mind. I had one and it's gone.
You were at...
sorry about that.
Mike, I'll bring your memory back, because, I know it's hard concentrating being a mall cop for a living, but, we'll bail you out of this one, my brother. We'll bail you out. You were asking about the history of Mandy and what you were able to find out about it.
Mall cop. Easy. It was a gnome, a lot of gnomes. I hope your listeners hear that. The lady I talked to who knows quite a bit about Mandy the doll, Mandy was given to them as, oh, here, you take it. It's really cool. You take it type situation. So a lot of people did not want the doll. That was all.
Way to fill this in. Mike is Dave, I got to tell you, Mike and I, it's a lot of inside joke, because when he comes up here to visit and to investigate the 108, we razz the living hell out of each other, and it just seems to continue onto this show, so
never would have guessed.
No, it's true. We get a little snarky with each other. David, when it comes to somebody like Mandy, and you're trying to find the history of how it was made, where it first came to public. How do we find out it's haunted? What makes Mandy such a strange doll?
Part of it's the mystery, quite honestly. As Mike mentioned, it was given to the museum by someone who didn't have a lot of information, but, wanted to be rid of it because it was troublesome. And that turns out to be the case with a lot of these well-known haunted dolls. It's that whoever owned it at the time wanted rid of it and just, would say, no, there's too much, this is causing me too much trouble. This is causing disturbances in my home. So they get rid of the item. So a mystery is kind of created right at the beginning. And, from that point on, anything that comes in is just sort of adding to the fascination of the haunted object. And, to a degree, it makes it more difficult to go backwards and then find out more information about the doll. A lot of times people are reluctant. Peggy, the doll who I mentioned a few minutes ago, is a prime example. Peggy was given to a paranormal investigator in the UK, a lady named Jane Harris. And when Jane received the doll, the original owner essentially said, this is causing me so many problems. The woman was virtually having a breakdown, and she said, I want rid of this doll, and I don't want to hear anything else about it. I don't want any updates. Nothing. And Jane essentially couldn't get any further information really from this woman. So, from that point on, all we can do is collect the data and the reports and everything that follow. So that was the case with Peggy. Of course, with Mandy, we have a situation where the doll was given to a museum, and people have actually gone to the museum and had experiences, just like you guys did. There have been other cases of, people trying to document the doll and having strange things happen with their photography equipment and so forth. And then you get reports of people visiting the museum saying, oh my God, this creepy doll moved. And as I mentioned earlier, it's got the psychological component that comes in because so many people have a fear of dolls. And, when certainly they're walking into a situation where people are actually saying, oh, this doll is haunted, then, every little thing may indeed add to the legend of the doll.
Now, Mike, I want to bring you back in here because David, I have talked to a little bit about the haunted mannequin, and I think the haunted mannequin is a little bit more active than the doll. At least it was for me on my part. Now, the next night when your team was there and you guys went up to the mannequin, you said, I recall you guys saying that something freaky really happened.
I don't recall much of the mannequin. I was just talking to Jeff about what type of evidence we got audio-wise. We got a lot of hits audio-wise around the mannequin in that area, and nothing around the doll. Just some knocks when we left our recorders overnight. The mannequin is honestly foggy to me. I believe the haunting doesn't come from the mannequin itself. I believe it comes from the uniform. One of the guys we were with said that the haunting may be because the uniform that was on the mannequin was just, here's some World War II pants mixed with a World War I jacket with a Korean helmet. It looks Canadian. It'll do. It's got some patches on it. I think that whosever items that those belong to, they may have felt a little disrespected because it's not showing at the actual uniform, just a mush of a bunch of different uniforms.
Now, from what I recall, you guys kind of surrounded it, and Glenn, who served in the British Army, had started talking to the soldier that could have been connected with that gear, and apparently, from what I recall from the radio show that we did, because we were doing a live hit that night, that all of a sudden it was you four and the museum curator there, and apparently this soldier got so pissed off he ran out the emergency door. Because I recall you guys saying that on the air.
Yeah, that might have been Glenn talking about that one. I don't remember that. I think I was actually talking to you on the radio when it happened. They had some action there because I know Derek was talking, or he was doing the medium thing, talking to some spirits, and I think they were upset at the uniform. It was the rank. It was the wrong rank on the uniform. See, I recall that now. The soldier was pissed off that the rank was incorrect.
Imagine that, Dave. A ghost soldier being pissed off because the wrong rank was on his jacket.
Entirely possible.
But that's the strange of the paranormal, isn't it, Dave?
Oh, sure. I mean, we have so many unique situations that we could potentially be dealing with. You know, I mean, what you guys are describing sounds like some kind of, consciousness that was there interacting with you and was angry at, something being displayed incorrectly, as opposed to it being any kind of residual energy or anything. It's kind of fascinating that it was on a mannequin, and, that's what you at least, kept mentioning, this mannequin perhaps was haunted. And that's, again, that's brings in the psychological component, because, the fear of mannequins and dolls, it all falls under the same category of phobia. It's automaton phobia. So, basically something that represents a human but is not quite human, really kind of screws with our consciousness in varying degrees. And it sort of puts your senses in a hyper level of awareness. If you have that phobia to any degree, you're going to be even more sensitive to it. So, it may be the fact that the uniform is displayed incorrectly. It may be the fact that, whatever's there is using this mannequin and the entire display in order to try to communicate.
Now, Mike, do you want to fill Dave in? Because if he can get up here for an extra couple days, I think we continue the trek north and head up to Barkerville with him for the night.
Mum's the word with that, bro. I can hook that up for us so fast. Barkerville, it's kind of the equivalent to the United States Deadwood or Tombstone. Barkerville, wow. Yeah, Barkerville was a gold rush town. Everyone who's anyone in the 1800s flooded up here to mine for gold in the river. Wow, where to begin with the experiences I've had there? Our camera guy who was filming us a couple years ago, we were in Barkerville. It's picture Deadwood, picture along, basically like the old West towns. It basically looks like an old strip mall, right? One long drag, and at the end of the drag there was they called it Chinatown, and the Jeet Kune Tong were kind of back in the day. They would bring Chinese workers over from China to work in the mines, build the railroads, do the gold panning, etc., etc. But the Jeet Kune Tong was kind of like our version of the Freemasons, kind of like a boys' club in a way, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And me and two of the other guys were in they called it the Tong Building, and we were trying to communicate. And one of our guys, I don't remember what he exactly said. I think he said, "Are any of you people in here?" Which can totally be spun into like, "Why'd you say it like that, bro?" And all of a sudden he got really cold, and then he got massive scratches on his back after he said that. And I think he left that building in about half a second, and our investigation was done for the night because he was triggered. One of the coolest EVPs I got there was a pig squealing when I was walking by the old butcher shop, where the old butcher shop would have been. Yeah, this place, you'd love it. The investigations, the stories, the folklore. It's cowboy town, lawless town.
Saw my first porcupine on the drive up there that I've ever seen in the wild. I didn't realize they were that big, Dave. This thing was massive. Oh, yeah. Massive. I was like, what the hell is that crossing the road? And I'm doing like 100 kilometers an hour, so 62 miles an hour, coming around this bend, and there's this damn porcupine just getting off the road. It would have totally ruined my truck if I would have hit that thing. Totally ruined the truck. It wouldn't have been fun. But yeah, you're going to have to plan a number of days up here, because I think Mike, we need to road trip Dave a little bit and get him the real BC haunted experience up here in the Caribou Gold Rush.
I'd really like, yeah, man, I'd really like to go back up to that doll. There's more to it that I need to find out. And while we're up there, why not just drive an hour east to Barkerville?
Well, Dave, the invite's out. We just got to get you up here in September.
Hey, I'm down for it. We'll just coordinate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dave, looking at your 2017, what was strange and weird about it?
Oh, most of the year. I do this stuff all the time, so, there's always something for me. A lot of great highlights, some great conferences and good networking and so forth, but some really, really good investigations. I think probably, a couple of the highlights. Earlier in the year, Ross, Allison, and I were we were doing an investigation in a small town in Washington State, and for a documentary that we're working on. So I won't go into a whole lot of details, but I will say that we caught a really cool piece of evidence at, I think it was like 3:30 in the morning. Now, this is a very small town. It's one of those places where the sidewalks roll up at, 5 o'clock, and everybody's in bed by nightfall. And we caught on recording, on multiple recorders, a residual gunshot in this location that we were investigating. And it was just, all the components of it were so cool. We had a tech guy up monitoring equipment overnight, and we even have him, we had a camera watching him too. So, when this happened, you hear it on the cameras. He captured it on equipment, and you see him react, and it's pretty cool. It really is. Beyond that, we also caught SOS, Society of Supernatural, did another Ripley's, believe it or not, investigation in the fall. And we were at the location in Ocean City, Maryland, and caught a shadow figure on thermal imaging. And this is a really mind-boggling image. I know I've posted it on Facebook and Instagram and some other things. I'll try to post it again for listeners who want to check it out. But it very clearly is a humanoid figure caught on, like I said, on thermal camera. When I went to the place where it was captured and started looking at comparisons with the area and everything, because, we go through the whole gamut of trying to figure out always, okay, is this any kind of reflection? Is this, it's a very controlled environment. So we knew exactly who was there and what was there, in terms of all the various pieces of displays and everything else. And this happened against a wall where there was not really any display. There are a pair of lights that were turned off that are on the wall. There are these little old-timey looking lantern type of things. And when I went to the spot where this figure had appeared, we started looking at some size comparisons. We figured out this thing was around 4 feet tall. So, again, nothing for it to reflect off of or anything else. So that's just a couple of pieces of the cool evidence that we collected this year, and there's tons more. As I've said on numerous occasions, I think a lot of times investigation, a big component is, finding the right set of people to work with that creates the right dynamic to open the possibilities a little bit more. And with SOS, I think we've got a really incredible mix of people that are involved. So I feel like we're pretty successful with what we do.
Dave, we only have about 2 minutes left here before we got to go to our first break of the night. I'm curious, Dave, do you investigate with anybody? Are you kind of like a little bit of a lone wolf? I know you do a lot of work with, people like Ross Allison, you're good friends with Zach Bagans and other paranormal investigators that people would see on TV. But do you really watch whom you investigate with, and is that important for you to do, or are you just tracing the stories of the weird and strange, much like John Tenney does, and then goes in and investigates what he can find out on his own?
I don't have a short answer for that. So, I was many years ago when I started in this field, I had a couple of different teams, and eventually got tired of the whole team dynamic and all that kind of, drama that often comes along with that. Was a lone wolf for a long time. And, over the years developed some associations with different colleagues and peers. So I guess the answer is, I investigate a lot. There are a number of different people that I do investigate with or would investigate with, but I'm also a bit selective. There's a lot of times that I'm invited to investigate with certain people, and I just, I use courtesy, of course, but I decline for a number of reasons because, again, there's that component. It's not necessarily anything personal against them, but, I think that the dynamic has to be correct, or you may just be wasting your time. So, you kind of have to feel good about the people that you're in the field with. And, you can end up in dangerous situations in these investigations, not just from a paranormal element, but also the human element. So I think that has to be a factor to consider when you decide to go out into the field. That's the quickest answer I can give to that before the break.
But you couldn't have said it any better.
And that is a beautiful answer nonetheless. I almost want to clap here, Dave. That was a solid answer right there. Solid answer.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate that. Guys, you hold on. We are going to get out of here for our first break of the night. It's the final edition of Ghosts of the Great White North here of 2017. Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada with our special guest from Las Vegas tonight, award-winning author and paranormal specialist, David Weatherly, who comes on this show every second month to talk all things paranormal, strange, and weird. And maybe in the second hour he'll put his hair down for us as well, even though you won't see it. It would be important for us. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. 2 more hours of paranormal talk right here on the Mighty SOR coming up.
Hey, space travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at SpacedOutRadio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at SpacedOutRadio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at SpacedOutRadio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at SpacedOutRadio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spaceoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spaceoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Morin. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
There's a lot of strange going on in this world, and we can help you find out what's going on with you. Paranormal, cryptids, UFOs in the sky, aliens in your bedroom tickling your toes. We have the investigators you need to find out the answers you deserve. All you have to do is head to spacedoutradio.com. Your information is 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report. It's free, and we're here to help.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our Advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
It's a balmy minus 18 degrees outside SOR headquarters here on top of the mountains of central British Columbia. Yes, get your gloves and your toque on because it is Canadian cold right now, but that's okay. Things are heating up tonight with Paranormal Chatter with Mike Morin and David Weatherly on Ghosts of the Great White North. We'll bring them in momentarily. Tomorrow night on the program, we're going to get to the news behind the news. The final appearance of 2017 for the Rebel Planet and Jamie Sexton. It's going to be a great night indeed. Tune in to us at spacedoutradio.com, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on thefringe.fm, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Vicissitude. Vicissitude is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Subscribe to our channel. That's where we put our archives. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, reading up on the news and the encounter online, watching great videos for people like Tim Doyle's UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV, and so much more at spacedoutradio.com. Ghosts of the Great White North tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada, based just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, and we are joined by one of the best in the business, special guest tonight, David Weatherly. You may know him from television. You may have read his incredible books, everything from Black-Eyed Children to Haunted Toys, everything in between. David, welcome back as well.
Hey, thanks, man.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So could you handle the minus 18 Celsius?
That's your summer?
Well, you know, I tell you, the moon is not out right now, and it is perfect skies, even though it's damn cold out. Perfect black, dark skies, lit up by the stars. It's a perfect UFO night. That's all. I'm not going to complain too much. Probably after the show, I will actually go bear the temperature and go look for some UFOs tonight in the sky. It's that dark out tonight. I love it.
Nice. Nice.
Yes. Yes. So, you know, if you got a warm jacket, man, and I know you live in Vegas, so it does get cold there about 1.5 days a year.
Hey, I'm a desert rat. If you can come down here when it's 116 in the summer.
That's just gross.
Well, you know what? I do plan in 2018, because usually I go down to Vegas once to twice a year, and I didn't make it down this year, and I'm a little upset with myself because of that. So I'm going to have to hit Vegas 2 to 3 times in 2018 to catch up. You know, because,
there you go.
So, you know, you and I will be hanging out, and we'll be doing some weird stuff down there, man. I want to take, you know, do a big paranormal tour with you. Hey, I want to start off, Dave, with a question from Jeff in our SOR Space Travelers group, because you are good friends with Zach Bagans and his Haunted Museum. You've been there. You were there opening night. Jeff is wondering, though, David, seeing how you wrote a book about haunted dolls, what was your opinion then when Zach handled the Annabelle doll?
Well, you know, it created so much controversy, of course. And, you know, my stance on a lot of these things, you know, I thought a lot of it was overblown, to tell you the truth. Now, you know, you have to take into account that Zach is a TV star. It's easily the top paranormal show on any network at this point, Ghost Adventures. And because of being in the spotlight, just about anything he does creates a whole, influx of opinions. And people are either supporting him or all pissed off and saying, no, they shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that. So, you had a very dramatic reaction to the fact that he did it. I think for anyone who hasn't read it, Zach released a statement after the show had aired on the Ghost Adventures Facebook page. And I thought it explained it quite well, and he basically tried to convey to people that he is a sensitive, and, sometimes in the moment when these things are happening, you can't really necessarily control what's going on. You have to kind of follow the energy and do what you feel like you need to do. So, he was clear to me anyway that he didn't mean any kind of disrespect to Tony Spera or the doll, so to speak. But, it's what he was kind of called to do in the moment. And, like it or not, I think it fueled some of the energy that came out of that investigation. They had some interesting things that they captured during the event. And, of course, Tony also released a statement and said that, he wasn't really necessarily angry with Zach. He was just more worried about the situation. So you have two sides of the coin in a sense here, because Tony Spera, who was trained by, the Warrens, who's really fallen into the Warrens' footsteps in that sense, is taking a very religious approach to all of these things. So, his viewpoint as practicing Catholic is that all of these items are inherently dangerous and you absolutely do not touch them, with your bare hands. You take a whole range of spiritual precautions before you touch the items and so forth. Otherwise, you risk possession. So, that's kind of one extreme. And it's not necessarily right or wrong. In the paranormal field, we have a wide range of approaches, and that just happens to be his approach. So in that situation, you had his approach and his beliefs clashing with Zach, who has a very open approach to all of these things. And, early on in the Ghost Adventures shows, Zach liked to antagonize a lot. He would provoke, spirits when he went into locations and so forth, and got a lot of flack for that, of course. But over the years, he's really tempered himself a lot, and it's become, I think, more sensitive to many of the energies. So, I don't fault anybody in this situation, quite honestly. And I thought it was a very entertaining show. I thought it was a good job in terms of the investigation. And Annabelle is a bit of a mystery, too, because we know the accounts from the Warrens, the original case, and again, this is an item that has had so much lore attached to it over the years, and now in recent years we have the Annabelle movies, which a lot of people are, developing a perception of Annabelle because of the fictionalized films. We don't know what kind of energy is being created and instilled in that doll at this point.
David,
that's a long-winded answer, but there you go.
No, and I agree with you, and I think it's an acceptable answer. I think where people were a little pissed off was two reasons. Number one, like you said, Zach can't get away with anything. I mean, he is being critiqued left, right, and center by people who are, maybe upset that he has taken paranormal television to a brand new level in the ratings, or people say he's disrespectful. Do you think people are carving him in this field because maybe of jealousy that he made it and they haven't?
Oh, I think that's a large portion of it. I honestly do. And there's when the paranormal became part of pop culture, 10 years ago, and became so acceptable on television, you had this massive influx of teams springing up all over the country and abroad, who were all vying to get a television show. And let's face it, it's a pretty it's a pretty small fraction, a pretty small percentage of people who are actually going to have that kind of success. And, you know, Zach was one of those people, right time, right place, and the right talent, so to speak, to get that attention and to create that dynamic that so many people responded to. So, you know, at this point, and he has, you know, to his credit, he's lasted a long time. You know, by now he's outlasted the other shows. You know, Ghost Hunters got canceled a couple of years ago, and Ghost Adventures is still going strong, still getting strong ratings, and he has endured. And, you know, he has hardcore fans and he has hardcore haters. It's just, you know, it's the old adage of being Top Gun in town, so to speak. So, you know, whether people who are hardcore investigators like it or not, all of us who are in the field, I think, should accept the fact that the, quote, entertainment side, if you want to call it that, of the paranormal is a part of our field now, because all of these shows collectively create a different level of perception about what paranormal investigating is. You know, I hear a lot of old school investigators who just despise the fact that there are ghost hunting shows on television. And, you know, to me, it's always been a very two-edged sword, because at the same time, those shows have opened the masses up to accepting the paranormal more. You know, it's not something that it is shunned like it used to be. Man, I remember when I started in this field, it was almost impossible to get people to talk. You had to go through a lot to get people to tell their stories, because it just wasn't that acceptable. But, you know, now these days, everybody's got a story that they want to share. And we have television to thank for that, like it or not.
I agree. What makes Ghost Adventures so successful is they're not a cookie cutter. Well, I might get chastised for saying this stuff. I'm pro Ghost Adventures. I like the show. I think Zach's innovative. But they think outside of the box. They do things differently. They take risks. They work with Bill Chappell, digital dowsing. They're making and experimenting with new gear. A lot of these other shows just go on with their millimeter and their K2 and their Olympus audio recorder and call it a day. These guys, they use things you've never seen before that Bill Chappell makes just for them. So yes, it is entertaining, but they're trying to break the mold of the plain regular stuff, and they're trying to find an answer with new gadgets. Heaven forbid there's a new gadget.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And, you know, the other factors are that the show has evolved over the years. If you've watched Ghost Adventures along its whole career, you'll see an evolution in how they investigate and what they try. And, yeah, absolutely. Every episode is not a group of guys walking in and you know, roaming around a building in night vision. You know, it's different experiments, it's different approaches. And again, like you're saying, Mike, this has led to people like Bill Chappell coming out and trying to create new ways to document, you know, whether it's whatever level of evidence. I've tried a lot of Chappell's equipment, and the SLS camera I've been very fascinated with the last couple of years, and have gotten some amazing pieces of evidence with that thing. So, you know, I think it behooves us all to at least try these things and you know, one, understand how they're working and what they're supposed to do, but then also take it kind of beyond that and, you know, see what we can achieve by these new ways of documenting evidence.
I agree. Sometimes people think we're just talking to the air, so why not use some different tools to try and obtain evidence? Why not that paranormal puck that they use on Ghost Adventures? I wanted to buy that so bad, but to bring it up to Canada and pay the duty, I might as well take out a line of credit or a mortgage.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we use that device too, and we've had some interesting things happen with it.
I guess that's the benefit of being good friends with Zach, is you get to play with all the toys.
I'll take Zach's hand-me-downs.
Most of the stuff I have on my own too. So, you know, probably spent an ungodly amount of money over the years on equipment, but this is what I do all the time. So of course I'm going to want to experiment with it and see, what I can get.
Dave, when it comes to Zach and paranormal television, when I got into this 3 years ago, it seemed like everybody who was hitting me up from the paranormal field was telling me that, oh, well, we have a demo going out, we're doing a television pilot. Do you think paranormal television has reached its peak?
Not really. I think it's changing. All of these things sort of go in cycles, and when you look at television, it's different literally every year, because it's all about what, some group of guys sitting in cubicles at the network decide they want to try to push in the following year, what they think is going to be popular. And as a result, you see these different waves of things, certainly here in the States, that's what happens. For a couple of years, we had all of these things that were sort of mountain and hillbilly oriented, moonshiners and, things related to that. For another period, we had all these shows about Alaska. All of a sudden that came out. It was a big thing down here. So we definitely get waves, but what happens within that is that we also get different types of paranormal programming that come along. And I know there's a lot of pitches constantly in the work for different programs. And at this point, I think we're reaching a good place in paranormal programming to a degree, because a lot of the cookie cutter stuff, as Mike would say, has passed away. People are tired. People are not going to sit there and watch, like I said, a group of guys wandering around in night vision, just talking into recorders. They're just not going to. You have to have some aspect, something that's different and unique, and whether it's the personalities or the approach, or hopefully both, it's a bit harder to get a program now, but I think that potentially over the next couple of years we may see some really interesting and innovative programs show up. I'd like to see more. There was a program on a few years ago called Ghost Mine. I don't know if you guys got it up there or not, but it was centered specifically around one location, which was really interesting. It was focused around a haunted mine, and it only got 2 seasons, but I thought it was really nicely done. And those kind of approaches lead to, really digging in and looking at a specific location or area over a period of time. The potential becomes a little bit more fascinating to me. So I'm hoping we see more things like that personally.
I'd like to see where it goes. I know up here it is still such an untapped market for the paranormal. Yes, we get some of the U.S. shows, not all of them. But Mike can attest, this market in Canada is so untapped when it comes to paranormal stories or UFO stories, cryptids. I mean, you think the way that Bigfoot has been played or Sasquatch has been played in British Columbia, you'd think there would be some sort of special coming out of BC, some homegrown show looking for Sasquatch. There isn't. There's nothing here. There's barely any paranormal radio. I mean, we're like 30 years behind, maybe more in the paranormal. What do you think, Mike?
I agree. It's totally untapped up here, and I'm trying to be the prospector. Bigfoot, I'd like to look into in 2018. A Bigfoot is something I'd like for you to show me, or I got I know a couple other guys that I could talk to and interview and take me out to their secret Bigfoot spots and see if we can get some knocks and grunts. As for ghost hunting or paranormal investigating, oh God, yes, it's unlimited. It's unlimited up here. We have, I'm not going to say the location names, but we have about 6 or 7 we're going to be big locations coming in 2018. No one's done like public places, historic places, and yeah, you should come up here and check it out. Dave, come on down as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So
it's big.
Go ahead.
Because I've been working with a producer, and he's got his poop emoji together. And he's really helping us find a lot of these good spots to get us going too. And as for same with post production, with all the stuff we've filmed, we've actually filmed three episodes so far.
David, getting back to 2017, where's the funnest location that you investigated, whether it's for ghosts, UFOs, cryptids? Tell us about it.
Oh, boy, let's see. Give me a second to think about that because I hit so many locations. The Ripley's locations are always just incredibly fascinating to me, just because of the wide range of activity that's going on. You often have a building itself that's haunted, and then it's filled with artifacts, many of which are authentic, that Ripley collected over his years of exploring, and a lot of those items potentially have energy of some degree attached to them. So those are always fascinating locations for me to do. We had a couple of other things this year. We did a mansion in Michigan called the Bruce Mansion. Not many people have investigated it. That was a pretty intense place. SOS did a couple of live streams there. It's up on the channel. And we also did a really cool place in Mississippi. We did two there, actually. We did one that's fairly well known in Vicksburg called the McRaven Mansion. And it's funny because we were actually in Florida doing some investigations, decided to go up to Vicksburg, and just by happenstance ended up in the McRaven Mansion the night after Zach and his crew had been there for 2 nights filming. So the energy was already kind of stirred up, and we went into the place. And this mansion is it's pretty old. The oldest portion was built, I can't remember the exact date, but I want to say the late 1700s. And then they had 2 other phases built. And of course, Vicksburg was a very active area during the Civil War. So you have a lot of layers of history that had gone on in this place. And I was actually shoved. It was a very strange incident at this place. There was a porch that you could walk along that was on the second story. It is on the second story of this mansion. And there's an entry that goes into the oldest part of the mansion. Now, it's a large wooden door. When you open this door, there's, I think, 1 or 2 steps down that go into this level. And I was carrying a camera, and Dave Spinks, I believe, was behind me with a camera. So he was filming too. And we caught this on video. Just as I opened this door, there's this bizarre thing happened. It felt like someone grabbed my right elbow from underneath and sort of shoved it up and to the side. And as a result, it caused me to stumble down into this entryway and banged my leg up pretty good, but I didn't fall down completely, fortunately. But it was a really odd situation. So that was a pretty cool investigation. The whole time we were there, we were just getting stuff left and right. And again, multiple layers of history at a location like that make it even more fascinating. It's one of those places I definitely want to go back to.
Mike, what was your favorite location of 2017 where you investigated?
I don't know. I'm going to go with the Bailey House, because I got choked there. I've never been choked before. Straight up puked outside. We were shooting one of our little mini shows, and we were up. Jeff, if you're listening, can you add a photo of the Bailey House in the thread? I'm painting you a picture, Dave, with a photo. Bailey House is an old historic house in Merritt, British Columbia. So from Vancouver, you drive northeast an hour and a half. The city was going to tear it down, but some of the Bailey family still lives, so they made it a historic site. A weird picture that we found in the stairwell there was half of a demon, half of an angel saying, I forget what the saying was. I'm going to try and find it. We'll get back to that. I'm going to try and find it in my photos and paste it for you, because that's a big part of the story. But when we were upstairs, we were doing an EVP session, and I was provoking a little bit. I am respectful, but I was provoking because it was really quiet that night for any sort of paranormal action, you'd say. And Derek, our medium, started to get really agitated and started yelling, "F off." Or there's a nice pretty picture of the Bailey house in the thread of my team and the house in the background. And all of a sudden I felt a cold gust of wind. And then I started to choke. I was ignoring it because the food merit isn't that great, so maybe I'm not feeling well. And then all of a sudden I couldn't breathe, and something felt like it was grabbing my neck. And then I had to rush outside and, well, puke all over the grass, to be graphic. That investigation scared me because it's the third time I've been there. And every time I've gone there, I've left feeling really dirty and negative. I don't know why, because the house presents and the history presents. It's happy. It's nice. Happy things happen there. But every time I've gone there, like the second time we investigated the Bailey house, I call it a paranormal hangover. After I investigate, after we do our 2 nights of investigating, I like to just drop off the planet for about a week just to maybe get my sleep back, get my energy back, and whatnot. But every time after leaving the Bailey house, I have to cleanse myself every day. I smudge. I'm heavy on the smudging and carrying protection stones, but it seems like that doesn't help me after the Bailey house. So I'm always reluctant to go back. But Jeff, the guy on our team, that's his jam. That's his favorite place. That being said, that would be my favorite investigation of 2017 because it got the most action and scared the out of me.
Mike, what's it like to be attacked by a ghost like that?
It's scary because I'm an extremely type A person and I do not like to lose control of anything. And you lose control because you cannot control that entity from doing something like that to you. Even when you're withdrawing yourself out of the situation, it's still following you. You can still feel it. And even after the attack, you feel almost, when you use the word, violated, because you couldn't have avoided it and you couldn't stop it. The first time I ever got attacked, I almost quit the paranormal field. I'm like, no, you like doing this, just let it go. It's not for the faint of heart. I've seen a lot of people quit after even getting like pushed or nudged or blown on. It's not fun.
David, when you hear of a spirit choking someone like what happened to Mike, have you had something like that done to you before, and how do you react to hearing something like that?
Oh yeah, I've had I've been scratched, pushed, choked. I was bitten 2 years ago. First time in all my years that had ever happened, and just a wide range. Like Mike's saying, it's really not for the faint of heart. And I too have seen people, have a direct experience like that and say, no, this is enough. This is not what I thought it would be. So, to me, it just kind of comes with the territory. Having done this for so many years, you get to a point where you accept it to a degree. I mean, it's not acceptable, of course, for these things to do this, but at the same time, we're kind of out there in a sense to have these experiences, to find some kind of proof and evidence. And, what's more personal proof than a direct experience like that? So it's part and parcel with what we're doing as far as I'm concerned. It's not always pleasant, for sure. And there have been some pretty crazy experiences that, that I've had and people around me have had. But I think that more people should be aware of that if they're going into this field, for sure.
I find it awesome when you're on you can probably relate with this, baby. When you're on an investigation and something happens to you or somebody with you, and then you got that guy in the back row ready to chirp you. You're faking it. Actually, we don't fake that stuff. That's not why we're there. You can't fake a lot of the things you see. Like My team, we also do fundraisers. We like to help out our historic societies, make kind of like Dave with 108 Mile. We have about 4 other ones we work with to make money so they can keep their historic locations open and whatnot. We did one on the paddle wheel boat, and man, people faint, people get headaches, people get pushed, and it's always the people that are like, "This is fake. We're just doing this for fun." It's always the spectators that get attacked, which kind of makes you giggle in a way, because when they walked in, they were all chest puffed like a rooster, thinking that they're the toughest guy in town, and then when they leave with their tail tucked between their legs.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people that were very skeptical, run away just because they hear something audibly, or they have something, sort of low grade physical, like something touch them on the cheek or brush by them or something, and they say, no, that's enough. I'm out of here. So it's pretty fascinating when that kind of thing happens. And it's pointless to fake this stuff when you can actually go out and have the experiences anyway. And to me, I'm not out to prove anything to anyone. I do this because it's my passion. So I kind of adhere to the old adage that, you'll never convince a skeptic, and a believer doesn't need any proof. So, it's interesting to me when I hear people who are going into the paranormal because they want to prove it to people. And man, you got a hard road to travel if that's really why you're going in. I think you should go into it because it's your individual passion, and share your information and let people make of it what they will.
Exactly.
But we've had stuff. I mean, I've been scratched, and we documented we were at a location in Indiana. Dave Spinks and I were, and the first night he got cracked on the head by something. It was one of the strangest things I've seen happen to someone. We were upstairs in this location, and Dave, he bent down to put a piece of equipment on the floor. And when he started to come back up, he stumbled backwards, all the way back until he hit the wall. I thought he was going to fall over. And I said, I'm like, man, what's wrong with you? And I, of course, went over to him. We had a ghost box running, and, we had this voice coming through, and I'm asking, what did you do to Dave? I hit him. As immediate response. And I had to get him out into the hallway and get him seated in a chair. We investigated a little bit more. We wrapped up. We went downstairs, and there were other people in the location at the time. So we went downstairs. We sat down at this table, and Dave was just sitting there kind of looking funny. He reached up to the top of his head, pulls his fingers down with blood on his fingers, and there's this gas on the top of his head, like something just whacked the heck out of him. The following night, we investigated again. We had the same male voice coming over a ghost box. And I asked again, what did you do to Dave? And it said, I hit him. And I said, what'd you hit him with? And it says, a shovel. Like, just extremely clear, crystal clear. We were live streaming all of this stuff. And we had a situation with this, whatever this entity was that was coming through was getting very aggressive. And I rarely provoke anything. But for some reason, I got really kind of agitated that night and sort of went after this thing verbally, and all of a sudden just felt my back burning up. Now, this was cold weather in Indiana, so I had on, like Under Armour and a couple of layers, like 3 layers of clothing. And I told Dave, I said, man, my back is burning up. And I pulled my shirt up in the back, and he put a camera on it, and they watched live as these huge marks just manifested on my back. And when that's going on, Dave is communicating with this voice over the box saying, what did you do to David? And it said, I slashed him with a knife. So it was a very aggressive presence that was in this place. And this kind of thing, you can't, you really can't make this stuff up. I don't think you can anyway. Not to that degree.
No, I agree. Like that brings back to that story about a guy from my old team getting scratched on the back in the Tong building. You can't. I watched it happen, basically.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then, because the weirdest thing that has happened to me, paranormally speaking, was at the 108 Museum. We have this one room in the post house, and Mike knows where the post house is. The downstairs room in the post house. Every time people walk into that room, or we bring our group into that room, a few of us get hit with what feels like cobwebs, Dave, in our face. What the hell would that be if there's no cobwebs in that room? Because before the tour, I checked that room for cobwebs.
You know, that type of manifestation you hear, I've heard that on a lot of occasions from different locations, and it seems to be, of course, we ultimately don't have, the definitive answer, but the implication is that seems to be something that people experience when there's some type of entity, activity, or presence in the location. And I've experienced it myself a few times. I've seen people experience it a lot. And, it's consistently described like that. It's like, oh, I feel like I walked through cobwebs. And, it's usually on the face or the arms. Again, it seems to be almost a prelude to activity happening at the location. So, to me, it indicates that something perhaps, again, on an energetic level that we can't scientifically measure yet is occurring, that is creating a change in the atmosphere. And I think that's what the human body is reacting to.
I think the cobwebs are like the paranormal band getting ready to start. It's I think it's the manifestation of a spirit or entity. It's gathering energy to A, communicate with you, or B, react to whatever you're doing. Every time usually it'll go cobwebs, then a smell, then activity on your gear, to getting your EVPs. That's usually the process of that at all the investigations. So once you get the cobwebs, you're getting hotter to the activity.
Because we probably get 6 to 8 people a tour hit with these cobwebs, and it's only in that one room. That one room.
Dave, which room in the post house?
Okay, when you go into the post house, you enter the door. If you turn to the right, you go upstairs. But if you look straight ahead, there's that room. There's a doorway, and then there's another room.
Not the room with the closet, but the... Oh, you mean downstairs, right?
Downstairs, yes.
The far room.
Yes.
I got the cobwebs in there. That's a weird room, man.
That is a very weird room.
Set up a trap cam, audio recorder. We got some good audio in there, and an IR camera, like when we were there the last time.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a weird room, and the museum put an old couch in there now, Dave. And it's funny because one night when we weren't doing the tour, we were just there to try and figure out more about whoever is in that room. We had 3 K2 meters on this couch. We had both 2 K2 meters on one of the armrests on each side, and then one right in the middle of the couch. This spirit that was in there was lighting up both K2 meters that were on the armrests, and the one in the middle wasn't even lighting up at all. It was the strangest thing. It was like he was going all around that 1 K2 meter in the middle. It was very, very strange. I don't know how that would happen. Still trying to figure out what would cause that, because if he's standing in the middle to light the 2 off, wouldn't the middle one go off as well?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, we've seen, something unexplainable directly interact with pieces of equipment. And, sometimes you get these anomalies. You'll have several pieces of equipment going, but only one is reading something anomalous. And it's one of those mysteries of what we do. I think it may be the entity itself choosing which device it interacts with and ignoring the others.
Mike, what do you think about the K2s on the couch?
K2s, so you had all 3 of them going off at once. Were they going to the reds, did you say?
Two of the K2s that were on the armrests were completely red, completely to the red, and staying on red. The one at the middle of the couch was not even moving. It was sitting on green.
Were people standing by the ones at the end of the couches?
There was only myself and Carrie Mingo, who helps with my tour. That was there. There was only two of us in the room.
K2s, it's interesting that they're both doing it at the end of the couches and the one wasn't doing it in the middle. Because my thoughts are, was there electricity around there? But being in that building, I know there's not down there. So, no, it's interesting because maybe you could have the ghosts at the end. Were they touching it when you were making your questions, or was it just straight red with no questions to them?
They were straight red when we asked them to light up the machines. We asked him to light up all three. He only did 2 of the 3.
That's pretty interesting then, if you're getting a reaction like that. Did you ask any other questions, or is it just the one?
No, there was a number of questions, and it's funny because with a lot of the spirits in the house, David, Mike, we end up getting a lot of information out of there, and Mike, being more familiar, knows how active the 108 Heritage Site is. But this one spirit in that downstairs room, Dave, he is stubborn. We know it's a male. He won't give us his name. He won't give us any information. He cobwebs the hell out of the people. And then sometimes he'll flick ladies' hair in the room or something along those lines. Do the odd blue orb. And then he won't communicate. He'll just say, that's enough. I'm done. I'm done. But a lot of times we find that he's actually joking with us and almost playing with us by teasing us with information and then going absolutely silent. This guy is frustrating the living hell out of me. How do you deal with a spirit that is playing games like that, Dave?
Well, that's the kind of situation where you have to, in my opinion, you have to mix up your approach and just keep trying different things. A situation like that, I would try multiple pieces of equipment, equipment that monitors equipment, and just take a different approach each time you go there, because a situation like this, if it's an entity that is that conscious, which is what it's sounding like from your description, then, you almost have to catch it off guard or trick it to a degree in order to get it to reveal something else. So, my approach in a situation like that would be to really mix things up and try a different approach each time and just see what gets a reaction and what gets nothing at all.
I'd say switch out one of the K2s and put a REM pod, because then you have 2 different tools that could both get a reaction based on an entity touching it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll definitely have to try something out for next year's tours, because we actually doubled up on our tour dates for 2018, where instead of having once a month, we are going twice a month between June and October, because there's a lot of tourists that were pissed off during this year due to the forest fires and just finding out about it by driving by. They didn't know the dates, so we got to add more dates to try and capture some of that tourist traffic as well. So maybe next year, starting in April, we'll have more answers to what is going on. That is for sure. Very much for sure. We got about, let's see here. We got about 8 minutes before we got to go to break, guys, in regards to it. I want to get back to the cobwebs for a second, Dave. Do you think that is some sort of ectoplasm or something else that the ghost would be dropping on people to kind of get their attention?
It's hard to say. I mean, ectoplasm classically is connected to spiritualism, and it was a substance that spiritualists would purportedly manifest during seances. But, as I said before, it may be some type of energy that these entities are emitting, or it may be the entities themselves that you're walking through. and having that sensation. Like Mike said, I think that they are often a prelude to something manifesting or the energy starting to rise in the area. So the times that I've experienced those things or been on investigations where it's occurred, that does seem to be the case, that shortly after that type of manifestation, things will start to happen.
Mike, what scared you this year? Besides the choking incident, what scared you this year in the paranormal?
I don't get scared anymore. Choked, yes, we won't talk about that. I'm just trying to recall some investigations in my head right now. I'm a pretty level-headed dude. I don't get angry often, especially on investigations. I'm very, as Dave calls it, cop-hat-ish. 108 Mile, when my personality changed to being infuriated and irate. We were in the post house. That's the favorite place at 108 Mile. And the team I was with, we were starting to get really edgy and agitated at each other. Only in the post house, though. They weren't listening. Well, that made me sound like a boss. But we weren't focused. We were supposed to be filming. We were supposed to be doing our EVP sessions. Everyone was kind of doing their own thing, and we only had a limited amount of time to be there. I'm usually patient. I can get people to start to work when we're doing our investigating. But I got so angry, I wanted to break my gear, and I had to leave the post house for a good 5-10 minutes and calm down. That scared me because, again, that's a control thing. I normally don't get like that. That 108 Mile, your post house, scared me a bit this year.
Anything send you out of control this year, Dave?
No, not really. People ask me all the time if I get scared on investigations, and quite honestly, I don't. Not in terms of paranormal activity or things happening at locations. Over the years, I've had a few situations here and there that were very intense. I've had a few situations historically that were dangerous in terms of the human element. This is not this year, this is actually a few years ago, but I went to investigate a ghost town at one point. It was a location I had done before, and had one other person with me. I got there late at night, and this is sort of a remote place in Utah, and we pulled up and parked the car. You have to walk part of the way to get to this location, and as we had pulled up and parked, I noticed that there's this sort of small ridge that runs around this ghost town, and I thought I saw a silhouette of a person. And this is not a place that anybody really goes to at nighttime anyway. And got out of the vehicle and I started walking towards the area, and realized that behind this little ridge down in this gully, there was a van parked. I don't know how it had even gotten back there, to tell you the truth. It went over some pretty rough terrain to get back there. And there was a guy walking around with a shotgun under his arm. And it was kind of a freaky situation. And we very quickly got out of there, and we're lucky, quite honestly, to get out of the situation. And about a week later, I had run into a deputy sheriff that I was familiar with and started talking to him about it. And he told me, "Oh yeah, we actually busted those guys. They were cooking meth in a mobile meth lab." And he basically said the same thing. He said, "Yeah, you guys were lucky because these guys are really jacked up, and they just shoot people if anybody comes around." So, those kind of things I think are something you have to be very cautious of in a lot of investigations if you're going to remote areas and so forth. So,
Dave,
that was my most recent fright, so to speak.
I have a couple questions from the audience for you. Robin is asking, if you would like to write a haunted book on items, ships, or whatever the topic may be, where is a good place to start?
Well, I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, I obviously need to have a concept for what you want to write about, and then you just start collecting stories and history and accounts and so forth. But yeah, definitely, if you're going to write something, you need to figure out your approach from the get-go. Do you want to just relate ghost stories? Do you want to talk about investigations? Do you want to talk about personal accounts? You have to decide on that approach and then sort of go from there. If you're going to do something about specific haunted items and so forth, then you make a list and start seeing what you can come up with and see how much material you can come up with. I hope that answers the question.
Sure, and let's sneak another one in here from Jeff, who is asking, Dave, he apologized. You can tell Jeff is Canadian because he's apologizing right off the bat here for you, Dave. He says, I apologize to you if you've already answered this. But, Dave, what do you do for protection either before or after an investigation?
My background is shamanic. I trained with a lot of native teachers over the years, in fact, since I was very young. So I have some very personal processes that I go through. I do use things like sage and so forth, but I have a number of things that I do. I have items that I wear that are highly protective that I've had for many years, some from my teachers and some from other sources. So, I think that everyone needs to develop their own personal process for protection, whatever makes them feel comfortable. And, you have to go with what works for you. If you're Catholic, say a prayer and wear a crucifix. But find something that works on a personal level and makes you feel more secure. Then you're going to be a lot more powerful going into the situation.
Excellent, Dave. Thank you so much. We got 1 hour to go on Spaced Out Radio of Ghosts of the Great White North. It's the final episode of this show of 2017 with Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada and David Weatherly, the man, the myth, the paranormal legend himself out of Las Vegas. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back with the final hour of the show right after this.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
There's stories, then there's the truth. Do any of us really trust the news anymore? This is Jamie Sexton, owner of Rebel Planet News. The third Thursday of every month, I appear on SpacedOutRadio.com to bring you the truth you deserve, without mainstream media lies or alternative media fear-mongering. We'll get to the heart of the story and deliver the truth you are seeking. So come join us here for the Rebel Planet at SpacedOutRadio.com.
We are lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to SpacedOutRadio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries, so tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
There's a lot of strange going on in this world, and we can help you find out what's going on with you. Paranormal, cryptids, UFOs in the sky, aliens in your bedroom tickling your toes. We have the investigators you need to find out the answers you deserve. All you have to do is head to spacedoutradio.com. Your information is 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report. It's free, and we're here to help.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Once again, we'd appreciate if you sent your thoughts and prayers to the voice of Spaced Out Radio, Bob Davis. who is in hospital right now just outside of Edmonton, Alberta. Not doing too well. You know, he's one of the family. We'd love some thoughts and prayers sent his way. Bob, we're dedicating tonight's show to you, buddy. You get better, because we need you back here in the family very, very soon. Tomorrow night on the program, it's the final show of 2017 for the Rebel Planet. Jamie Sexton will come in. We're going to talk a lot of stuff here tomorrow night. We're going to get into UFOs. We're going to get into wanting to go back into the moon. We're going to get into net neutrality and so much more starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on the Fringe.fm, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Vicissitude. Vicissitude is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. That's where our archives are stored. We're also on TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. We're on iHeartRadio in the United States as well. And our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including great videos from UFO seekers and Contact TV. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Rock out to some Bumblefoot or catch up on your latest strange and paranormal news on the Encounter Online. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. For the final time tonight, it's Ghosts of the Great White North with Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada, stationed just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, and from Las Vegas, the man, the myth, the paranormal legend, David Weatherly as well. David, have you put the hair down yet? That's what we really need to know. That's the most important part.
I'll put the hair down now, guys.
All right. I appreciate that. You know, guys, I forgot about this until just a few minutes before the break. And I had something weird happen last night. I rarely go to bed before 4 o'clock in the morning. And last night I hit the sack just before 2 a.m. And I don't know what happened to me, but I'm going to explain to you what happened. I was in a dream state, and it was daytime, and I happened to be standing in my driveway right by my carport, about 15, 20 feet from my carport. And it was daylight, and there was blue sky out, and there was one dark cloud. Kind of, you know, you get that cloud that looks like a rain cloud, but it really isn't. It's just kind of sitting there. And all of a sudden, I was talking on the phone to our resident Spaced Out Radio scientist, Eric Markham, the Preacher. And I'm on the phone with Preacher, and I look up towards that cloud, and there is a giant disc in the sky. And I'm watching this, and I say to Eric, holy shit, pardon my language, and I said, dude, there is a saucer in the sky, and I dropped my phone. And as I dropped my phone, I picked up my phone, but for some reason, I put it to my head both upside down and backwards. And I was fumbling with it to try and get it right side because I could hear Eric talking. And he's like, Dave, are you there? Dave, are you there? Next thing I know, this UFO is pulling me up. And I start fighting it. And I'm fighting it. And I'm like, you ain't taking me. I'm not going today. No way. I'm not going. And the next thing I know, I felt my body go slam. And I woke up this morning and my chest felt heavy. And it was just after 4 o'clock. And the first thing, like I looked at the clock, because that's the first thing I do, is I look at the clock. It was about 4:10, 4:11. And it shook me. Because it didn't feel like I was being abducted, but it felt like I had been taken spiritually. but I wasn't taken. And I'm not sure if I had an outer body experience or if it really happened, because it was nighttime. Obviously, there's no sunshine here at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yet, in the dream state, it was blue sky. So I'm a little confused about what happened to me last night. Dave, you got any insights?
Man, not right off. I mean, that's a pretty crazy experience. And I don't even know. I know you've had a lot of stuff up around your territory anyway. So, you know, I don't know. I got to sit with that one a little bit. It's hard too, you know, to relate to an experience like that when, you know, obviously Mike and I weren't there. You know, it was only you. So, wow, who knows? I mean, no markings or anything on your body or nothing like that. No.
You know. See, I've never had an out-of-body experience. I've never, you know, felt the feeling of leaving my body and having, you know, that whole interaction where you feel the you know, the lifeline or that string or whatever you want to call it, that tether that stays connected. I've never had that happen. Never. That's the one experience I can say I don't want. I really don't want that. But the fact that it was a dream, and here's what confuses me. As I've said many times on this program, I don't remember my dreams. I've never remembered my dreams unless they are extremely vivid. And if they involve extraterrestrials, I usually know, then that's when I know I have been taken. I've been able to figure that part out. But the fact that in this dream state, it was daytime, yet at 4 in the morning here, it's very dark. It's still quite dark, and it's dark until about 7 o'clock. And the fact that I actually felt myself on my chest, almost like I was being slammed back into my chest because I wasn't allowing them to take me, even though I could feel myself floating up, not from my bed, but from my carport or my driveway, and then getting slammed back into my chest. I'm not sure what the hell happened last night.
Well, it sounds very much like a classical out-of-body experience in those terms. You know, because a lot of people who spontaneously have that experience, when they re-enter, it's that sensation of, you know, landing hard or hitting or whatever. So not everyone who has those experiences is aware of the silver cord that, you know, connects the soul to the physical body. So it very well may have been a spontaneous out-of-body experience that you had.
I don't know, man, but it tripped me out. It tripped me out. I was up until like 5 this morning. I was afraid to go back to sleep because here's what was getting to me, Dave. Everything that I have learned from ET researchers or experiencers is it's between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. when they come and get you. That's like the ET hour. You know what I'm saying?
Very common, yeah.
And during that time, I'm usually still awake. One way or another, I'm usually still awake. And to all of a sudden have that experience and thinking, okay, this is happening during the ET abduction time, you know, it's a little bit strange to me. It's just a little bit strange, and it didn't feel like an out-of-body experience, but at the same time, it did.
Right.
You know? I don't know. I don't know what happened. You know? I know it wasn't Sasquatch. That I can confirm. It wasn't Sasquatch. Mike, what do you think? You never have anything weird happen to you.
I never have weird things happen. That could be, in my opinion, a dream where your subconscious is trying to trigger you into thinking, to think about something. It got your attention with the UFO because I know you see them up where you are quite often, so that has your attention. Now, but what does the cloud mean, right? So I'm just trying to analyze it like a dream versus actually an outer body experience or like an abduction. That's my side of it.
Well, I can tell you this. It was a beautiful round saucer, like just the classic saucer, and it was banking to its right when I started feeling like I was rising up to it. Because I remember the UFO going very slowly, and I just felt like they were going to take me, and I was like, "You guys ain't taking me." And I started walking back towards the house, and that's where I felt myself all of a sudden rising above my, carport, which my patio is on, and I didn't get past my roof when all of a sudden I fell back, and that's where I felt the slam and woke me up while I was in bed. So it was just strange, man. Strange. Hadn't had anything like that happen before.
No, that's a strange one for sure. I could be your out of body, but dream. I get a lot of dreams like that where I think something happened, but then I'll think about my dream for a good few days, and then it'll mean something, like something in my head will go. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a gooder.
Dave, in your opinion, dream or experience?
Well, it could be both. From a shamanic approach, the dream state is merely another level of consciousness where we can experience things, sometimes in a physical sense. So again, I go back to just my initial take on it is it sounds like you had an out-of-body experience. It's interesting that the lines all get crossed with your interest in the UFO phenomena and the experiences that you've had somehow crossed over into this out-of-body experience, or maybe one induced the other. It's difficult to say. But it's definitely a fascinating experience, and it occurred once. It may occur again, Dave.
I hope that one was a one-off. I wasn't sure I liked that one or not. I'm getting sick and tired of this nighttime crap, to be honest with you. I really am getting sick of this nighttime crap. I've given them permission to come on in, and let's just go. Like, Carl, bring your ship right in my backyard. It's nice and dark. Nobody will notice. Everybody's sleeping around here. Just park it right there. Let's go for a ride. Come knock on the door and say, let's go. I'm awake. Let's do it. I don't need any of this, Dave. And I don't think I'm sure there's a lot of other experiencers in there as well. Right. Casual on Revolution Radio says it's both ETs and an out-of-body experience at the same time. I didn't know that could be possible. Have you heard of that?
I've heard a couple of accounts of that, and there's this sensation that some abductees describe of being lifted almost out of their body when they're abducted. So unusual, but yes, I have heard it a time or two.
Shar is saying, Dave, it sounds paranormal/spiritual. No, there was nothing paranormal about this. All I know is that I really felt like I was, something was happening. Something was happening. Jeff has a question for you, David, and he is asking, living in Las Vegas, does the allure of Area 51 still intrigue you, or is that pretty much old hat now?
It's still intriguing because it's a very anomalous place. There's obviously a lot of secret government projects and so forth that have went on out there over the years. But again, this is a place that has become iconic in a sense, and a lot of mythology has grown up around it. So, it's I still go out there every once in a while to the area, and strange things do occur out there. So, short answer is, yeah, it's still kind of an intriguing place.
Do you still enjoy the secrecy of it all, even though, it's so secret of what goes on there, yet it's literally the world's best, worst kept secret at the same time?
Yeah, it really is. And frankly, I think a lot of the things that occur around the phenomena of the location are almost more fascinating. I had a couple of bizarre Men in Black experiences out near Area 51. So, and talking to locals and so forth that live out in a couple of the little communities out there, you just hear these weird, quirky stories that are kind of intriguing and add to the folklore and the mystique of the whole thing. And that's kind of more what fascinates me than, say, the hard science / secrecy of or lack of secrecy of what's going on out there. I mean, come on, we know it's a government installation that's doing, a wide range of experiments and so forth. So that's almost old hat, so to speak. But again, the lure of what goes on in the region out there is pretty compelling.
Do you mind telling us about those Men in Black experiences near Area 51? I've never heard those ones.
Oh, yeah, sure. So, they're fairly short. I mean, there was a situation. I was on a trip from California to Arizona. I had been in California to speak at a conference, and was driving back, and I've always loved the back roads of the desert and everything. So I took a little bit longer route and went along the back roads in Nevada and heading for Arizona, southern Arizona, and decided to stop outside of Area 51, a little town called Alamo. And I called ahead. There's only, I think, two places where you can rent a room there in Alamo. One is a place that has cabins, and they usually close their office down fairly early. And another is this really old motel, just this little strip motel, and knew the guy who runs it, really nice guy, and called ahead of time and said, "Hey, man, I told him who I was. He remembered me. I said, look, I'm on the road and I'll be coming through. I'll be getting Alamo, but it'd be really late, and I'd, like to grab a room." And so basically set it up with him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know you. Just stop on by, and I have a key for you and all this." So it's the middle of the night. I stopped at this little strip motel, and I think it was a Tuesday or something. It was during the week, so it really wasn't much of anybody out there. A couple of other cars in the lot. That was it. I go into the office. He had told me he was sleeping in the back. He told me to just hit the bell and grab the key, so that he knew that I'd got the place and everything. So went in, got the key, came out, had just a single travel bag with me, one of those roller bags. I walked out of the office, and the parking is right in front of the doors, and here's a guy leaning on a car. He was wearing a black suit, and he was wearing what I call one of those those 1980s skinny ties. Those real skinny ties that were in fashion like in the 80s. All black, black skinny tie. He looks at me and he says, "There's not going to be any coffee." And it was such a bizarre statement. It's like, I don't know, 4 a.m. or something. I was tired, and I'm really trying to, just get in my room and get some sleep. And here's this guy with this bizarre statement who, he says it to me as I'm walking from the office down to the room. And the room was only 2 or 3 doors down from the office. And I was about halfway to my room when this guy said this. And I'm thinking, what a bizarre freaking thing to say. And I'm trying to process this. I'm opening the door, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to, throw my luggage in and see what's going on with this guy. And opened the door, pushed my bag in, turned around, this guy was gone. That was just kind of it. It was the strangest thing. But he was a classic MIB type, and issuing this bizarre statement. Nick Redfern is a good buddy of mine. He's researched the MIBs quite extensively, and he loved the story. I think it's going to pop up in one of his books. He's just collected different tales. But there was another account that was similar to that, where I was out with a few other people at Alamo, and we had rented a bunch of the cabins at this other location to do some sky watching. And we were out there with 3rd gen night vision and so forth. And seeing some very strange things in the sky, I can tell you, out around Area 51. Well, it was late at night, and this area has it's all gravel and has this loop that kind of goes back around the cabins and up to the front area where you check in. And we're standing out back in this area that's the side of the cabins is a big field. And we're right at the between the field and this gravel pull-through. And this van comes driving through this loop. It makes a circle, and then it comes back around again. And, of course, each time it does this, it's hitting us with its headlights, so we have to kind of, it's very distracting, so we have to kind of stop for a moment. Well, on the second or third pass, this van comes through, and you can't really see who's driving it because it was so darn dark out there. But he's got the driver's side window down, and he says, it was a male who says, I'm trying to remember the exact words. I have this written down somewhere. There's something to the effect of people who look up in the sky see things they shouldn't see. And it was very, it was sort of ominous, like, you should know better than to be doing what you're doing. And then he sped off. And that was the whole, we're all left to just kind of puzzle over, what is that supposed to be a threat? What exactly is going on? So there's a couple of the odd little quirky things that have happened out around Area 51 for me personally.
Wow. Do you think with the latest round of disclosure that has started that we're going to see less Men in Black type sightings or interactions?
No, I don't think so, actually. No, I think they'll continue to be reported on about the scale that they have been. Because, we've talked about this before. I'm not confident that at least the U.S. government is ever going to reveal everything it knows about UFOs. I just don't think it will. Unless it's forced to by an outside source, meaning, we get solid contact that can't be denied. And that's the thing that I believe is going to force disclosure.
So what do you think of the whole Tom DeLonge situation? I know we touched on this in hour number 1, but we said we were going to save it more for hour number 3. You're not a fan of it. You think there's something to it.
I'm not a fan of it. Years ago, some of these other smaller governments opened their UFO files and took a very, a very different approach in sharing the information. But in terms of some of the world's larger governments, there are two things. One is I'm not personally confident that they'll ever, reveal all the information. I'm just not. And two, even if they claim they do, can we actually believe that? Can we fully accept that? So to me, this is the whole Tom DeLonge thing. I haven't commented on it a whole lot, but I'm not a big fan of it. I'm also kind of playing the wait and see game. Well, if something comes out of it, that'll be great. But I don't know. The jury's definitely still out.
Do you think that
it's almost too much? You know what I'm saying, Dave? It's such a show that it's almost too much. How much of that can you really believe? You know what I'm saying?
I agree, but the way the mainstream media is jumping on this, usually these types of stories are one and done within 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. We're now on day 4 of this, and it's still going. Fox News, love him or hate him, Tucker Carlson was all over the U.S. UFO subject tonight on the show.
This guy's DeLonge is a star. He's got media appeal already built in. So, that alone is leading to some attention. And, of course, ultimately that's not a bad thing. You've got other people jumping in. I know CNN did a report, and they actually had James Fox on commenting on the topic. So, at least they're going to people that have been in the field a while and have done some work, and they're getting their commentary added in. So ultimately, maybe there will be enough of a cascade from this whole thing to create some progress, because God knows the UFO field sure needs it.
Mike, do you think that the field of ufology is just about to open up, and that the mainstream, especially here in Canada, which is usually slow to react, will be something that we have to pay a little bit more attention to?
Yes, I think has been becoming more popular. I'd say over the last few years, people are wanting to know more about it. I'll say it again, I'm not educated enough with the UFO stuff to even make a judgment call on it. Does it intrigue me? Yes. Have I been interested in listening to what you guys have been talking about the last little bit? Yes, because it's all new to me. I know Tom DeLonge was in Blink-182, and he put out a UFO video, correct?
Yes. Well, a video that was actually released around, I believe, 2007, Dave, but has come to fruition as being a truthful video today.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you get about that, Dave? I'm curious your reaction, because that video has kind of been seen around the internet since about 2007. And then this story that broke, never mind the Pentagon stuff, but the majority of that story that broke on the weekend that the mainstream is jumping all over literally happened 2 months ago. What do you think about the timeline of everything?
What in regards to what DeLonge is releasing, you mean?
Yes.
Because this has sort of been in the work. This has been in the works for about a year, a little over a year actually. I guess, probably going on 2 years now. And I know that here in the States anyway, a lot of the UFO community has kind of divided over his involvement with the topic. Some of them have really been on board and think it's a great thing because he's already an established media presence, and a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is complete, BS. This is nonsense that this guy is doing this. And I tell you, it wasn't any more obvious than last year's UFO Congress in Phoenix, Arizona, when this is probably the largest UFO conference here in the States. It's once a year. It's usually in February. And last February, during the awards banquet, they announced the ufologist of the year, and they gave it to Tom DeLonge. Now, that really ruffled some feathers. A lot of people thought, oh, this is nonsense. You're just trying to play politics or, win his favor or whatever. And, a few people were saying, no, well, he's a media star and he's come out to aid in disclosure. But again, I revert back to what I was saying earlier. I'm kind of still taking a wait and see approach with this. I'm not yet convinced, and I haven't seen anything out of it yet that is mind boggling. Most of, has everybody saying in social media, most of the stuff is old hat. What's really going to come out of this?
What do you think about the pilots now coming forward from that incident?
Well, we've had pilots coming forward for years, though. You go back through in the history of UFO accounts. For ages we've had both commercial pilots and military pilots coming out and sharing their accounts. So, the big thing that might come out of all of this is a shift in how the mainstream media approaches this and how acceptable they make it. Are they just fixated on it the last few days because, it's a slow news week, or is it really holding people's attention, and is it something that we can look forward to more balanced reporting on? That's part of what we're going to, see how that develops.
It was nice, though, you do have to admit, it was nice, and it is nice, to finally see the mainstream media take this story seriously. Finally, to get some proper press. I mean, think of all the people, Dave, and I've been thinking about a lot of people as well. It doesn't really affect what I do because I talk about this on a nightly basis. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of people who can now look at their mom, their dad, their family, their brothers and sisters, their coworkers, their friends, and say, I told you so. People who were calling them crazy and lying about their stories. Now we have some direction where these people can have some vindication, all because the mainstream media is hopped up about it right now.
We hope. As long as it keeps up, then yeah, it's going to be a good thing. And this is the first time in years that you've seen mainstream media be able to do a story on something like this without the obligatory X-Files music. To introduce the segment and tongue firmly in cheek. So that alone is kind of interesting. But again, let's see. The media is infamously short-sighted on these things. So I want to see what's going to happen overall with this new dynamic.
It is exciting times, though, because this is something that we're not used to. I mean, not since literally Roswell has this topic been taken so seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I think on a few occasions we've had incidents where there's been a serious approach, but certainly nothing this widespread, I don't think.
And Mike's twiddling his thumbs on the other side of the border here, wondering, can we please talk some ghosts? I would like to talk some ghosts right about now. But either way, what do you think the mainstream people, the non-believers, the Five Senses people like Seth Stoshak and other critics of the field of ufology are going to say about all of this now coming out? I mean, this is really what we've been waiting for. I mean, Stoshak, who helps out the SETI program, I mean, he has been a UFO debunker. He's made a living off of it, Dave.
Oh, I know. So, and, I haven't really seen anything from those guys. I don't know if you have or not, but, I have no idea what they're going to say.
Mike, are you still feeling lost and lonely over there?
No, I'm educating myself and reading and listening on all of this stuff.
Big time question here, guys. This one comes from Adam. Who would win in a fight, Alf or E.T.? Who are you pulling for in that cage match, Dave?
Alf would probably eat him, wouldn't he? Oh no, that's cats.
He prefers the cats. I'm pulling for Alf here. I am really pulling for Alf here because I think E.T., he's got them little pencil arms. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he could pack a punch. Michael, are you old enough to remember Alf?
I am. I'm not an E.T. fan, so I'm going to go with Alf based on I don't like E.T.
And Kit Kat answers the big-time question. His real name, Gordon Shumway. Gordon Shumway. Imagine an alien. Hi, I'm Gordon Shumway. Even on Twitter.
We could always throw the Great Kazoo in there.
That is true. I think he'd get his ass kicked, personally. I think he'd get his ass kicked. Here's
a question from me. So I've been doing some reading on this alien Pentagon, Blink-182 stuff. Did or did not the government cancel investigating what was said to be found?
there's a lot of ways that could go, Mike. There's a lot of ways that could go. I mean, the government is obviously investigating. I mean, Luis Elizondo, who is in that main article and the one who is speaking about it on all the media, he's pretty much said there's a replacement for him. You know, the funny part about it is they say the funding ended in 2012, yet Elizondo just left this program around October 6th. So where was the money if Elizondo was running this program and the funding, Dave, ran out in 2012, as Harry Reid has said and the media has said? Who was paying Elizondo to run this program if he just walked away 5 days before Tom DeLonge had his announcement?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the questions that's been created from all of this recent news. But, you know, again, here we go back to how much is the government really going to disclose? Because now we may be getting into black budget and that type of area, and I can guarantee you they're not going to reveal that stuff.
I think it just went into a deeper program. I mean, Dave, you do have to realize, you know, and I don't want to go much deeper in on this, but $22 million, really? Does that seem like such a small number for a 5-year program that could affect all of mankind?
Well, and that's just the number that we're hearing, but that doesn't mean that's all of it.
Question from Andrew here for you, Dave. Do you think the mainstream spotlight, which is now firmly shining on UFOs and by extension the paranormal, might be an attempt to massage the narrative of these topics a certain way? If so, why now, and what is the intention of this manipulation?
Oh, wow, that's a big question. You know, anything I answered would just be speculation, basically. And it could be any number of things. I mean, maybe someone who's highly placed knows that something is coming or that more information is going to be revealed one way or the other. So they're trying to control it. You know, I'm very leery of the mainstream media, and not to sound, you know, like a big conspiracy theorist or anything, but, you know, the mainstream is used so much, utilized so much to direct how people perceive things. And certainly in the United States, there's been a lot of various reports and so forth that have been busted as, you know, fabricated or manipulated to create specific perceptions. So we have to be very cautious dealing with essentially part of our field being reflected in the mainstream media and how that's translating to the masses. So, yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely very cautious of it and concerned that there is a level of manipulation that is unfolding in the midst of all of this. Again, it's very early on, so not to sound like a broken record, but we kind of have to wait and see how this all plays out.
I think there is something way more to this, and I think we are only getting to the tip of the iceberg here. I mean, 22 million is pocket change to the Pentagon, who has a $600 billion defense budget. 22 million. I mean, that's just filling the toilet paper rolls in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a little, never mind the billions up to trillions of dollars that are unaccounted for. So it's way too deep on everything. Let's get back to ghosts here so Mikey can have some fun. Because
I can hold my own with the crypto stuff if you want to go there.
Well, you know what? I'm going to actually lead into this and try and tie it into both. And, sorry, Mike, I'm going to start with Dave on this one. Dave, do you think that the further we go down this rabbit hole, you know, now with UFOs on a soft disclosure, and a lot of people, including myself and others, who believe there is some strange tie-in between cryptids, between UFOs and aliens, and the paranormal, do you think that is the new wave of investigation in the paranormal, is trying to find that common thread between the categories?
Well, if that's the case, then it's really just something cycling back around, I believe. It's funny. I think we might have talked about this on the show before, Dave, but when I started in this field, it was with a very broad approach. And, at the time, I kind of covered all aspects. I was very interested in investigating ghosts and haunted sites, but also cryptids and UFO sightings. And some of my early influences are people like John Keel and Jacques Vallée, who took a very broad approach to anomalous phenomena in general. And, as a result, one of the things that always fascinated me the most in this field were these areas of high strangeness where you found reports of just a wide range that crossed all the lines, so to speak. So you get these sites all across the world where there are these concentrations of weirdness. Keel called them window zones, and there's various terms for them. But I think that it's nice to see more people approaching things in a broader spectrum. Now, I think we might actually make some more headway, because for a long time that was very much discouraged. And as a result, I have reams of files and reports from people over the years that were frustrated because, they had seen a Sasquatch at the same time they spotted a UFO, and nobody would take their report because the Bigfoot organizations don't, we don't wear a tinfoil hat. You need to go talk to the UFO people. The UFO people would tell them, oh, no, we just, scientific approach to UFOs. If you think you saw a hairy creature, no, go talk to the Bigfoot people. So, everybody compartmentalized for a long period of time. Everybody wanted their own slice of the pie, and, God forbid anything else come into contact with them. But now I definitely do see more people approaching it in a broader spectrum. And I think, there may or may not be a solid connection, but there are certainly a lot of cases where this phenomena, for some bizarre reason, pulls together in the same areas, at the very least. And we definitely do need to approach that with open eyes and open mind to see what we can understand from that.
Very interesting indeed. Mike, what do you think? Do you think there is a tie-in that is coming, and that's something that we need to look into a little bit more?
A tie-in to all the different types of paranormal? No, I think it's all different. I think UFOs are different from ghosts, and ghosts are different from Bigfoot. I think it's all different types of unknown beings, you could say, unexplained. I don't think there's a tie-in.
So what about people who say, like David said, that have had Sasquatch experiences or been on ships and there's been Sasquatch there?
I like Sasquatch on an actual UFO ship. You mean?
Yeah.
Maybe Sasquatch wanted to go for a trip too.
Could be.
I don't know. I couldn't answer that. I don't. In my opinion, I don't think there's a connection.
All right, let's get to Andrew's question for you then, Mike. He is asking, could the paranormal, extraterrestrials, and UFOs be, at its core, all about consciousness, in your opinion?
Yes, I think with UFOs and aliens, I think it's like you could use ghosts, for example. I think people are more in tune to it. Like for me, I've tried hard to make contact with aliens, UFOs, anything like that. Nothing. Crickets. Every time. All the time. But I know a handful of people where that's their wheelhouse. They always have experiences with the extraterrestrials. And then on the other hand, some people, nothing with ghosts or paranormal stuff. No.
I know a lot of people who have had all of their experiences start with ghosts and the paranormal. Dave, have you noticed that trend too?
People seeing multiple types of phenomena?
When it starts for them, it starts off maybe with some paranormal activity, then it seems to crossbreed into other fields.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes for sure. And I think, again, we have to take a very open-minded approach. There's a lot of accounts over the years that have been shut down by the standard organizations because another element is introduced. And, for instance, there are people who've had what they believe to be a UFO encounter, and they experience what sounds like poltergeist activity in their homes. This is all phenomena that we don't have solid answers for. And these organizations typically in the past would lead to the conclusion that the person is saying that the two are connected. Doesn't necessarily mean that. There's just a lot of factors that we have to account for. I think there are certainly geographical areas around the country where within a concentrated region you can find a large number of reports, cryptids, haunted sites, UFO accounts, and we have to kind of question why. What about that geographic area maybe is drawing this anomalous phenomena? Or is it the people themselves? Is it a level of consciousness that is necessary for people to begin to perceive these things at a wider scale? So again, a lot of different questions, and we just have to be open-minded with how we look at these accounts and how we try to understand them.
Michael, we're down to about 7 minutes here, so we're going to give you the floor to say, what are your plans for 2018, and what are you looking to solve with your ghost hunting adventures?
2018, it's more just dabbling back into the unknown, trying to get an answer. We're trying to find locations where something has happened, be it a murder, a battle, an accident, historic locations that was undocumented or hearsay evidence of paranormal things or bad things happening, and trying to draw an actual educated conclusion. That's where we're pushing for with the show. Another thing I'm going to be dabbling into is I want to talk to different people and maybe interview different people in different fields. Aliens. I'm interested in aliens, like I said, but I have no clue. Different crypto guys. I want to talk to people who are into witchcraft, who are into voodoo, and kind of gather a bunch of evidence for another project I will be working on. 2018 is going to be a good year. It's going to be my year.
What do you want to try and solve in 2018 when it comes to the paranormal?
It's not really. It's like an investigation. I just want to. You give me a problem or a haunted location, I'm going to solve that. Why is it haunted? So I'll be solving everything with a why. I will be giving the answer.
And David, how about you? What are your goals for 2018 when it comes to investigation and what you're trying to solve?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to specifically solve things. I mean, this is just my passion. I'm going to continue to pursue it, and I already have a wide range of things planned for next year. So I think 2018 is going to be fantastic. But, it's just a continuing process of documenting and gathering evidence and information and so forth. So that's really, just kind of going to keep doing what I've been doing.
Exactly. The solved word is hard to answer. Keep on doing what we're doing is the best answer to give.
My goal is to learn. Besides get this show off the ground, my goal is to learn. And I think that one way or another, I want to have my experiences pick up a little bit. Because, these dry spells, when you're a journalist like I am, these dry spells where things don't happen, they're terrible. And they beat up my mind a little bit because I'm trying to figure out why does it go 6-8 weeks without something happening when it used to be day to day. So I got to get over that frustration. That is my goal. I don't know if I can, Mike. I don't know if I can, but you have to try, right?
I think you should boots on the ground investigate aliens and extraterrestrial stuff. Meaning, why don't you set a camera up or a few cameras up around your place on nights where you think it could happen, or random nights of when you get taken and stuff like that.
Next, you'll be saying I could sell certain videos that are recorded, too.
Unless they're leaked. Kidding.
All right. Yeah, don't want to be doing that. But I'm thinking about it. And, cameras are a big investment. They really are. And, does it come down to that I need proof, more proof for myself, or do I need to just be humble with what's happened so far and try and figure out the mystery of my own? Dave, what do you think? I trust your opinion.
Oh, I've suggested cameras to you before.
I know. You're making me feel sheepish here.
Now you've heard it from two people. So, but no, seriously. I mean, look at what you want to accomplish personally. That's really what it comes down to. Do you need evidence collected by a camera or some other instrument? If it's going to increase your knowledge or your understanding, then by all means, that's how to pursue it. But first look at the motivation and what you're trying to get out of it, and then go from there.
Yeah. And that's good advice for all experiencers, too. It really is. So, Dave, what are you doing over the holiday? Go ahead.
It needs to be self-centered. You don't worry about proving to somebody or anything else, but just worry about what you need for yourself in this matter. Holiday, man, I'm having a nice, quiet time at home for Christmas myself with family and everything. So after that, lots of big things coming next year. So just been kind of resting up and wrapping up the next couple of books and getting ready for a fantastic 2018.
We're heading down to the coastline by Vancouver for a few days and go spend some time with my family. It's going to be weird. We didn't even put up a Christmas tree this year because we knew we weren't going to be home, and we didn't really need a fire hazard around our house, so we didn't bother putting a Christmas tree up this year. It's amazing how much a Christmas tree dictates your seasonal festivities. It just doesn't feel like Christmas around here without a tree. Mike, you and your beautiful daughter, what are you guys up to?
Low profile, gonna have some dinner at my sister's. Gotta work most of the holidays, but that's okay because the pay is fantastic on holiday working.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it is.
That's good. I didn't know the shopping malls were open on Christmas Day.
Only your shopping mall. I wish I was a mall cop. That's such a trigger word you say to me. I'm not a mall cop. Triggered. Officially snowflake triggered.
Yes.
I need a safe place when you say that.
He's offended. Careful, people. Mike's offended. He may write you a note. He may go public. Well, Dave, my goal also in 2018 is to get back to Vegas, hopefully by April, so you and I can hang out and have a beer and talk some stories.
That sounds good, man.
Maybe I'll hook a ride up with you and we can go out to Area 51. I'll rent a car.
You haven't been out there?
No. Gotta go.
Oh, okay.
Gotta go.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yeah. Mike Morin, thank you so much for a fantastic year with Ghosts of the Great White North. Really appreciate that and looking forward to it continuing in 2018 with you on the third Wednesday of every month, Michael.
We will have a lot to talk about, man. We'll talk off air. I'll tell you all the big stuff that's going to happen.
All right. And David Weatherly, it is always a pleasure to have you on this show every second month. To me, my friend, you are one of the best that is out there, and I appreciate that you've joined our family in this forum so often. Thank you for doing that in 2017.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure, Dave.
All right. You guys hold on. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Mr. Rod Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night on the program, Jamie Sexton from the Rebel Planet will be with us. We're going to be talking net neutrality, UFOs, NASA. Should we be going back to the moon? What is the real story? What is the tie-in between everything? We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. Want to say thank you to our great team, Amy Martin, Eric Markham, Bob Davis. This show was for you, my friend. You get better in hospital because we need you back. We need you back. Much love to you, brother. All of us are sending prayers to you. And so many more. Catherine Kitts, Tim Doyle, Jolene Lammers, and many more helping out this show on a nightly basis. But most of all, the big thanks goes to all of you out there in Spaced Out Radio Land, going to our GoFundMe account, which is gofundme.com/We Own the Night, and helping us build a new studio and sharing our posts, getting everything going. To everybody at home, at work, listening in their car, or maybe you're on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, or on Facebook or Spreaker, thank you so much for listening, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night. See you tomorrow.